Special welcome to all our listeners. Today, I am excited because I am starting a new series of podcasts that is totally focused on digital parenting and digital citizenship. Today, I am joined by an expert in the field. This topic is particularly close to my heart because I'm a parent. I'm a parent, who's parented somebody who's been through teenagehood and now in the early 20s. And I still have, one who's going through the teenagehood, and I've got a little one that I'm yet to parent through the teenage life, and as they start getting involved more with the digital world, I just feel very compelled that I need to be bringing information, obviously, as I learn as a parent, but also for other parents who are looking for these tools and this kind of support system. And so this is a podcast that I intend to be bringing regularly, the one that just speaks to digital citizenship and parenting in the digital world. I would like to welcome our expert today, and she joins me all the way from Zimbabwe. Welcome, Edith, to the podcast. Edith, you're on mute. Unmute yourself, please.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. Apologies for that. Thank you so much for having me here.
It's an absolute pleasure. Edith, let's start by you giving us a synopsis of who you are. Who is Edith? Give us a brief background about yourself and the work that you're currently involved in. And I would also want you to speak to your career journey. What career journey have you taken to get where you are today?
Thank you, Sarah. My career started 20 years ago in the legal field. I started off in doing corporate and labor law. And then as I journeyed in that area, I realized that it wasn't the thing that I wanted to carry on with. I then went into the public service sector, joined the government of Zimbabwe, and worked there again, working in the area of labor law. I finally found my niche in broadcasting when I joined the Broadcasting Authority of Zimbabwe. That is where a lot of the things that I do started opening up for me. At that time, we did not have smartphones. Internet connectivity was something very rare and far between. And one of the duties that I had was to monitor content, its appropriateness, the TV and the radio content, to make sure that it was not infringing on any of the constitutional rights of our citizens, but also making sure that it was relevant to our audiences, to the general public. It's kind of spiked something in me where I started wanting to know more about consumer protection. There was a lot of attention to how we were able to make money, to monetize the content. But there was very little about consumer protection. Why this came up for me was because I was also responsible for looking at complaints. I had to see what people were complaining about regarding the way broadcasters conducted themselves, and provide the right penalties, provide the right solutions. As we journeyed further into the convergence of technologies, where we found broadcasting and telecommunications coming together, that's when I had my aha moment to say, wow, this is incredible that we are going to be able to journey as one platform, having radio, television, and all the other kind of content coming in onto one device. That was really exciting. But at the same time, I was also very concerned because of the things that I'd already seen in my broadcasting regulation journey. as well as the legal side of things, where people were infringing on copyright. There was there were other threats to privacy and data that were already happening, mainly because people just didn't know how to conduct themselves in these new digital spaces. So as I journeyed further, when my contract expired, I joined a firm that specialized in intellectual property because I was very keen to merge those two skills that I already had with the intellectual property protection aspect. Again, more issues were coming up. Even in the developed world, you'd find that this was a very gray area. The issue of online safety and protection of the consumer, that was still very gray. So when I left that law firm, I took it upon myself to start a consultancy that would specifically look at digital citizenship. And from that, I started working with young people who were aged 13 and below, mainly because they were the ones who were the greatest consumers. And I believe they're still top of the list in terms of consuming digital media. I then started that platform where we just teach them and educate, raise awareness. It evolved into something where we also started talking to the educators, equipping them with the right information and skills to deal with this 21st century student who was now so well informed, much more informed than any other previous student. We also started talking to their parents, who were the weakest link, I would say, in the work that we're trying to achieve, because everything that we would do with the schools would get undone when these children went home, mainly because parents were just either too busy or they did not know what to do with this connected child. I started writing books as well because I felt the sense of urgency that just talking to people in little silos was not going to be enough. I needed to spread this information as far as I could. I wrote two ebooks that I've been sharing with my community of parents, but also with anyone else who is interested in digital parenting. One is Digital Age Conversations, which speaks on digital citizenship in general, but also with the context of the African uh, citizen in particular. And then we go on to the other one, which is Parenting in a Connected World, which gives practical and very simple tips to parents on how they can begin that journey of digital parenting. I have spoken on different platforms in Africa, in my own country, Zimbabwe, but also across the world on all those issues that are related to digital citizenship and digital well-being. So this is, in a nutshell, who I am. I am also a mother of four children, aged 24, 18, 16, and 5. So I've had that experience of dealing with a young adult and teenagers, and then the toddler going into preschool, who had completely different relationships with their gadgets or other people's gadgets. And as I watched my children and the way they were relating to these gadgets, it made me realize that there is also a need to understand them at those different age groups. So with our trainings, we kind of break it down for the different age groups, but also looking at the way that they have come into this connected world, and then bridging that gap between those connected children and the generation of parents and educators who are trying to raise them into good citizens. This is just basically a little bit about my work.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You are actually very well positioned to be a thought leader in this space, obviously, because A, you are a lawyer, and B, you are a parent as well. So, uh, you talk from, your research perspective, but also from a lived experience. And that actually makes me very, very excited to be in conversation with you, because I know I'm speaking to somebody who has a lived experience, much as they've got the expert knowledge. So then let's start our conversation by defining what digital citizenship is. What is digital citizenship?
So, when you talk about a digital citizen, this is a person who has developed skills and the knowledge that helps them to use digital technologies in an effective and appropriate manner. So, when you look at citizenship in general, is where you've sort of got certain rights as well as responsibilities in the community that you live in, right? So, say for me, I'm in Zimbabwe. I subscribe to the Zimbabwean laws that define me as a citizen and what I am supposed to do and what I am entitled to as that citizen. So digital citizenship is not very far off from the traditional concept of citizenship, because here we're talking about an individual, a person who uses digital technologies, who uses digital platforms, but has certain skills and has certain knowledge that helps them to use those things effectively while being responsible and safe, protecting themselves, protecting others on the online spaces. In a nutshell, this is what a digital citizen is and what digital citizenship entails.
Wonderful, wonderful. So then let's move on to the parenting side of things. So a lot of parents are actually quite concerned about raising kids in a world that is very well connected. I know that personally, when my other children who are 20 and 15 were younger, I was quite stressed about that area of my life in terms of how am I going to navigate, parenting them through their teenage years, especially with the influence of social media, which is always the biggest fear of many parents, because they don't have the skills in terms of how to support the kids or how to train the kids to navigate that world, because they themselves are digital migrants. They're not digital natives. They've had to just learn, this new life, which a lot of people are very conservative about, especially people in our age group. And yeah, there's also just a real fear, but also some fear that is quite unfounded when it comes to the digital space and the social media. So let's explore and look at what it looks like to parent in a digitally connected world, or what digital parenting looks like.
Yeah, you said it very correctly. A lot of parents are very overwhelmed when you start talking about digital parenting. It's like it feels like so much extra pressure on the traditional parenting that we already have to deal with. But for from my point of view, digital parenting is basically just another component of the traditional parenting, where now um, we used to be concerned about the physical well-being of our children, like when they go outside our house. Are they going to travel safely? Are they going to meet strangers? How they're going to conduct themselves where they are? What's going to be happening to them physically? And then we would also deal with their emotions when they face tragedy, when they face loss, when they face disappointment. We were always trying to create this resilient atmosphere for our child, and but at the same time showing them that they can be vulnerable, they can meet things that are beyond their capacity to handle, and we as parents are always there for them. So these the emotional, the social, the physical aspects of parenting a child, they are still part of that journey of digital parenting as well, except now that where our concern on the physical side was that when they go out the house, that's when you start worrying about, are they safe, are they okay, have they crossed the road well. Now they're on the digital streets, and they could be on those streets in your home, sitting right next to you, they can be experiencing a whole lot of emotions and experiences just right on their device. So because of that, I think it's actually a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in that the access to what's going on in your child's life is much closer to home. Unlike where they went off with their friends and you had no idea where exactly they were located. But if they're right there in your home and they're on their device, you have that opportunity to have a closer relationship with them and be able to parent them in their in a safe space, which is the home, in a space where they're also comfortable, where you're both comfortable. So whatever conversations you're having about their experiences, in a setup that is very conducive for both of you, which kind of takes away that overwhelm of, say, your child has had an issue at school and you have to go before school authorities and it's intimidating for both of you. So the way you handle it might be different from when you're handling it in your home. It's also a curse in that the children are, like you said, digital natives, meaning that they're very comfortable with tech. They are also very confident using tech. And some of the skills that they've acquired, unfortunately, deceptive, where they hide things from you, where they are able to keep things away from the parental eye. But that has always been the nature of a child. Honestly speaking, children have never always been 100% open with their parents. In fact, as they grow older, they become more secretive about what they're doing, whether it was before or after technology came into being. So, with that in mind, as a parent now, what we need to do is to throw away that fear of the word digital and just talk about parenting, knowing that whether I'm parenting on the digital spaces or parenting at school or wherever my child is, I am still just parenting. So, one encouragement I always give parents is that parenting will remain parenting. Whatever your values are, whatever your principles are as a parent, whatever um, you're trying to build within your child, that will always remain constant, no matter what, whether it's happening on the digital spaces or offline. It is still the same thing. So when you remain consistent in your parenting, it helps. When you also uh, are involved in knowing who your child is talking to, what they're doing, how they're using their screen time. It's not always about um, how much time they spend on their phone. And us saying to get off your phone, you spend too much time on it. It's also about getting to know what they're doing when they're on those phones. Some of the young people that I've talked to are actually doing very productive things online. Some of them are doing creating things there that they are able to probably monetize at some point. Some of them, like my 16-year-old daughter, has built a website where in her community they speak about mental health issues. When she was just even building that website, it was taking quite a lot of time. And I was saying to myself, you need to be studying. Why are you spending so much time on websites building? But when I spoke to her and got to understand what she was doing there, it made a lot more sense. So instead of worrying about, oh, I don't know how to handle this teenager who's always on her phone or on her laptop, get to know them, get to talk to them, get to understand their digital practices. It definitely takes away a lot of that overwhelm and that pressure. And it helps to create better communication. And if you're going to be sharing your own concerns with them, you've got a starting point because now you know what you're specifically talking about and you're not just generalizing. And with teenagers, once you start generalizing, they shut their ears. So those are some.
Beautiful. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful, and just well explained. Let's talk about how you got into the cyberspace. I know you did talk a little bit about your career shift. When you worked from the broadcasting companies, and then getting into your own consultancy. But let's talk about that in a more direct way. Uh, and what has kept you in this space for all these years?
Well, the way my work started, in especially the digital citizenship work, it started because of how I saw my own children um, relating to digital media. They were in primary school ages, I think 9 and 10 at that time. They didn't have personal devices. We didn't have Wi-Fi at home, and they were not that connected as they are now. But what I noticed was they would tell me things about their experiences during computer lessons, especially at school, during their ICT lessons, where sometimes their teacher would leave them to explore the gadgets and figure out how it works. But because they were doing it unguided, they came across information that was highly inappropriate for them. They were exposed to violent content. They were exposed to pornographic material. They were exposed to adult material, basically. So that really raised an alarm bell. It raised a red flag for me to say, is the school aware of what is going on? And when I spoke to them, they were actually surprised that that was happening, because at that time, no one was really talking about digital citizenship. And the curriculum around ICT was just about, this is the device and this is how you use it, and not going into the soft skills that a person requires to navigate in the internet. So I started talking to the young people at those schools to say, let's go deeper into what it means to be a digital citizen. How are you using this device effectively, responsively, and also ethically? We would talk about things to do with cyberbullying, things to do with sexting, cyber stalking, uh, a lot of the things that young people were exposed to. And when it came to gaming, uh, we always thought when a child is playing a game, that's it. But apparently, they were now connecting with people from all over the world. And some of those people, we couldn't even establish how old they were. So there were other things that were of concern now, like what actually are these children being exposed to? And this is what has kept my heart in this work. Even the times that I've also personally felt like, okay, this is not paying me. It's not doing for me what I would like it to do. I have always then gone back to my why, which is the young person. I realized, firstly, with my children, that they don't live in a vacuum. The fact that they were already exposed to things that happen on the internet before they even had gadgets highlighted to me just how easy it is for young people to go down the wrong path if they're not guided. So this is what made me take this upon myself to say, okay, I've got these skills that I've acquired as a lawyer, as a person in the ICT sector, and as a parent, I've got these skills that I need to put together and package in a way that I can assist parents, I can assist educators, I can assist communities to help these children, because it still takes a village to raise a child. These children now need us more than ever to come together as different stakeholders in their lives to make sure that they're navigating this cyberspace in a protected but well-informed manner, where they get the right support, where they get the right skills, where they're also prepared for that global village, because now they're going to go into a marketplace that has a global reach, and we need to equip them to be ready to have the right skills to be able to work with people from different cultures and backgrounds, to be able to work with people who have different belief systems and different values, and communicate in a manner that is really impactful as well as effective. So this has kept me going. It has kept me motivated to go. And just the feedback that I keep getting from parents, especially after I've worked with their children, it warms my heart, and it makes me realize that aside from what I had envisioned, there's something deeper that is happening in these families, in these young people's lives, in these schools, that is coming from the work that I am doing, the information that I share. Sometimes I just find articles and I just share with my community. Sometimes I look at the issues that I get from young people that they are not comfortable sharing with the elder people in their lives. And when I share, the parents are very grateful because they would never have come across that information, no matter how much they go onto Google. You cannot know what is happening in your child's life unless you have that connection. So just being the bridge between that generation and the other generation for me has meant a lot. And I do not take it lightly. I take that as my life purpose and my life mission. And that's what keeps me.
Beautiful, beautiful. What a great contribution that you're making to society, and a much needed contribution, for a time such as this, because literally the world has become digital, and it became digital actually overnight. As COVID, came to the shores, everybody migrated to online life, So whether it was school, it was work, we all lived in a virtual world. I hope that your work will continue receiving more traction, so that there's sustainability, because we need more people to actually speak around digital citizenship and parenting in the digital world. Like I said, before we started recording, there's just an element of a lot of parents feeling overwhelmed with this new life. But also, people don't have the skills because they were not born into a digital environment, an environment that was digitally activated. We've just had to navigate this new world, as all these platforms have been developed and have been introduced to us. So definitely your work is much needed work for society. Let's now move on and talk about cyber smartness. What does it mean to be cyber smart, and how does one become cyber smart?
Okay, cyber smart is um, a term that I coined as I was working with the young people. When they talk about being street smart, we are talking about someone who finds their way around the streets. They're not easily manipulated. They're able to make hustle and find their way. So we sort of just brought it to the cyber streets and we called that being cyber smart. Cyber smart basically talks about how you conduct yourself online. Is it in a way that is safe and secure? Are you being responsible? So it's about self, it's also about others, how you relate to people online, how you impact people online, how you use these digital tools for even for the offline life. So we are teaching here, we're teaching you to be responsible, to be productive, to be safe, to be secure, to be ethical as a digital citizen. And for one to become cyber smart, it's about knowing yourself. We always try to assume a different persona when we go online. I think the being behind the screen has given people that perception where you can be somebody else. But in the cyber smart sphere, we encourage you to be yourself and to highlight the best version of you, offline and online. At the end of the day, the way we were all created, we were never meant to be exactly the same. And I believe that the digital space could also benefit very highly from all of us just being ourselves, portraying the best versions of ourselves, the same way that we would go out and want to look our best, sound our best in the physical world. It should also come out that way online, but without taking away the human element, the fact that we make mistakes, we experience challenges, we have difficulties, and that is why they need the greater community where we get support, where we get acknowledgement, we get validation, we get resources, skills, and all other things that make us the people that we are. So being cyber smart is about knowing yourself first and knowing what's important to you, knowing what values you want to promote for yourself, having goals. So one of the things that we also encourage in our cyber smart sessions is to be intentional about your cyber smart practices, that you're not just going online for the sake of going online. What are you going there to do? Are you going to do research? Are you going to share a product that you're selling? Are you going to connect with someone? Are you going to entertain? And because you have an intentional goal, it's uh, it's possible that you can get distracted, but as long as you know your why and you pursue that thing that you are going online for, it's highly unlikely that you come out of there without achieving what you were set out to do. A lot of the things that make people the opposite of being cyber smart is that you just go in, and before you know it, you're being consumed by the digital media that you're coming across. You are not able to differentiate between what is important to you and what is not. So you find yourself going down these rabbit holes of um notifications and content and a spiral of things that are being thrown at you. And if you're not careful, that can end up really derailing you from what you're trying to achieve by being online. So being cyber smart is you knowing what you're trying to achieve and then going for that thing, with always having that at the back of your mind, and then actually achieving what you set out to do online. So that is, but also then doing it in a way that is safe, secure, responsible, productive, and ethical.
Beautiful, beautiful, and very well explained. Let's look at the developments. What developments have you seen in digital media use, both among the young people and the parents, since you started working in this area? And what has been your greatest concern that you would like to make the public aware of?
When I started my work in even before I left the broadcasting sector in 2008 is when I joined. And then as I evolved, when I started, it was a very simple relationship that we had with our devices, where you're going to do your work, you're going to do your schoolwork, you're going to check your emails, you're communicating. And it was a very balanced and healthy relationship. As we progressed into the smartphone era, where now we had these gadgets that allowed were little computers in the palm of our hands, I saw that with the adults especially, they became more engrossed. There was less offline activity and more online activity. The numbers grew as we got into the pandemic, especially, where now it was almost compulsory to be online, where we were forced by the circumstances to socially distance. With the young people, again, it was also the same. It was a gradual increase in the screen time, in their digital media use, in the kind of platforms that they were accessing. So we started off with very few platforms. For example, with our generation, we started with email. And then we probably went onto Facebook. We probably went onto Twitter. And then we got into things like LinkedIn um, and Instagram and a whole lot of other things. We also found people now being a little more comfortable using the dating apps. People are more comfortable using other ways of communicating and connecting with people from all over the world. Uh, and so the number of applications that we're using is steadily increasing, but the increase was quite sharp because the way the apps are being unleashed was also very quick and very attractive. Same with the young people; they would start off with maybe one platform, and then they end up on a whole lot of platforms. Uh, so I've seen that the development has been an increase in content. It has also been an increase in the applications that we are on. It has been an increase in the time that we spend there. So we are also spending time on books, reading digital books. We're spending time on using health apps. We're spending time on entertainment on those devices. And because of this, my concern then became, how much time are we spending on other components of our lives, especially in the family setting where we still have young people who need parental guidance. We have young people who need um, to feel validated by their parents, who need to have attention of their parents. And the concern now has also been that the parents, the adults, look like they are struggling to detach from these gadgets. It's become, I don't like to use the word addiction, but that is what it has become, like an addiction to our devices, where we can't even look up to the person that is sitting across from us to give them the attention that is rightly deserved, that we can't even get enough sleep because we want to be on the gadget until it switches off or until nature takes its course and we fall asleep. The minute we wake up, it's the thing that we're reaching for. Like it has taken control of our lives, the smartphone. And it's affecting other areas of our lives. It's affecting our productivity. It's affecting our relationships. It's even affecting our health. And yeah, that is really one of those critical things that have been a cause for concern for me. I understand that technology has so many benefits that we cannot even take away. That's, imagine if we had had COVID without being connected, things would have definitely been different in terms of continuing the education, continuing with our work, and connecting with our loved ones. But what has it taken away? I think we need to continuously also look into what it is taking from us. It's taking away a lot, especially when you talk to the young people, even though they are very comfortable with being online and talking to people online, they really still crave the offline connection. They crave the physical elements of being connected to another human being. And we, as the generation before them, have a responsibility to make sure that we are supporting them in that role that we have of ensuring they have that balance and that we also have a balance in the way that we're relating to technology.
Beautiful, great insights that you bring. So then the next question would be, where is the balance then? How does one also know that are living a balanced life when it comes to the digital world? That they're not too much on it or addicted. How does one navigate that kind of thinking? Where does one find the balance, and what does a balance look like?
One of the things that we need to do is to be very honest with ourselves. Um, you know, too much of a good thing has never been good. So we have to really do some introspection. One exercise that I often do with the people that I work with is that we have, as much as this tool is it is a double-edged sword, we also have things that we can use right here that can help us. When you look at your
So the two
phones,
being the cell phone, right?
yes, the phone has, when you look at your cell phone, it's got um, that digital wellness or digital well-being setting where you can actually see for yourself how much time you're spending on certain platforms, how much time you're spending on that device. It will tell you that you've spent so many hours or so many minutes on Facebook. If you've spent so much more time on your phone than you did yesterday or the week before. You can get that information directly from your phone. So it's important to start from the source of the problem. Look at your device and just interrogate how much time you're spending. And you yourself, a lot of the people that I've asked, do you think you spend a lot of time on your phone, or do you think you spend too much time on your phone? Some of them will say no. But when they go to their device, what the device tells them has been a shock for them, because they're like, "Ah, I didn't realize that this is what I was actually doing, or that so much of my time was being spent on this gadget." So you start from the source of the problem. What is going on there? And then another way of checking is to look at your own, have targets. Like you can actually, we have an exercise where we create a 7-day target or a 5-day target where we want to do certain things within that period. And at the end of it, we actually log in how much time we've spent doing whatever we're doing, whether it's online or offline, it doesn't matter. But you have a record of how much time you've spent doing things holistically, whether you're talking about your morning routine, your exercise, this time that you spent with your family and your friends, the time that you're spending doing your work. So we're not necessarily saying how much time are you spending online or offline. We're just saying, what are you doing with your time in general, right? So once you keep that log, then it gives you a sense of where most of your time is spent. Then when you know that most of my time is spent at work, then we zone into the work. And then we go a little deeper and you look at your work. When you're working, how much time are you spending attending to emails? How much time are you spending in meetings? How much time are you spending doing research or creating or whatever work that you do? And when you have that deeper sense of what you're doing and how much time you're spending, then you are able to self-regulate, because now you see where you have a shortfall, where you are lacking, where you need to do better, and we continue to work on that. So our program is actually an intensive 8-week program where we go through all these different steps of self-analyzing. Another area that you can look at is your environment, the people around you. You ask them, what do you think? How do you think? I did that experiment with my family, and my kids were like, yeah, you do spend a lot of time on your gadget. And and then I asked them to help me to also regulate, because you need an accountability partner. You cannot do this all on your own. So whether it's your spouse, it's your children, it's your friend, or anyone that you can walk that journey with, it helps to then know that this is where I need to find a balance, and this is how I can create that balance. It's a very personal decision. With with me as an expert, I am always there to guide and assist, but I'm also very open to the fact that each person has a different way of managing themselves. It's like when you come up with an eating plan, some people are looking to lose weight, other people just want to maintain a healthy lifestyle, other people want to gain weight. So the needs are always different from individual to individual. But at the end of the day, as a digital nutritionist, I would be helping you to make sure that you reach your journey, but using the steps that are unique to you attaining your success. But on your own, you can just start by looking at your gadgets, talking to the people that are around you, um, even your workmates. One of the things that in the workplace people complain about is that we are not detaching from our gadgets to the extent where the communication as colleagues is completely lost. So you can actually ask your colleagues, how can I do better as a colleague? How can I do better as a boss, as a supervisor, as a subordinate? How can I do better in the way that I relate to you vis-a-vis my relationship with technology? And you'll find that it's very revealing when you do those exercises. You learn things about yourself that maybe you didn't even realize, but you also find some of the solutions come out of that introspection as you go deeper and really pay attention to how you are personally using your gadget. You'll then find some of the answers even on how you can proceed going forward from there.
Excellent, excellent. I actually love the idea of accountability partners. So, yes, family, by all means, they will always and readily give you the truth. Especially your children. Your children will tell you whether you are too much on the phone or not. They are the best judge. But I also like the fact that you're stretching it in the workplace to actually use your colleagues as accountability partners to just help you gain that balance. Let's now look at data privacy and data breaches in the digital world. How can people tackle the issue of data and privacy breaches in the digital world?
Okay, my approach has always been less technical and as practical as possible. When we talk about data, it is a very scary thing because for most of us, it's like, that's for people who are very well versed in ICT skills, people who have gone to tech school, who understand the technicalities. But I like to um, keep it simple and also raise awareness to the fact that each and every one of us can be a data protection champion, not only for ourselves, but for other people as well. Because the minute that we have a gadget that is able to store, to consume information that belongs to other people, we are already placed with a responsibility. And here I am speaking legally as well as morally. It is our moral and legal obligation to make sure that the data that that is being shared with us and that we are accessing on our devices is kept safe, is stored well, and that responsibility really is something that we even have to teach young children. Why we speak on this issue of data and privacy is because when you look at what is happening on the ground, if you go to your WhatsApp, how many times have you received a message speaking on a person's personal life, things to do with a person's integrity, a person's reputation, like critical elements of a person's life that are being shared so easily with complete disregard to the impact of what we are sharing. How many times have we found that someone can share a picture? Like the other day, I received a picture of a young girl, the youngest girl to give birth in our country. And someone put up a picture of that girl, her face and all, even in her maternity gear. I think she was actually in the hospital bed where everything happened. And she was holding that child that she had just given birth to. And while I understood that this picture was shared with that emotion of anger, maybe disappointment at what had happened to this child, But what about what we are doing by exposing that child to the world? This picture has probably gone viral. And did this child understand what it meant for her to have a picture of herself taken? Did she know that it was going to be distributed online? Did she know who was going to end up having that information on her life, her personal life, and the impact that is going to have even on her future? Imagine later in life when she wants to get married, and now everyone knows that, oh, she is the one who had a child when she was that X years old. No matter the circumstances of what has happened, this is her private issue. And because a lot of people don't realize the impact of what they're doing, it's very important that we educate ourselves on the areas of privacy, other people's privacy that they are entitled to, that not everything you see is supposed to be shared. So when you see someone having a car accident and you start taking pictures of someone who has been hurt or someone who is deceased and you post that, what does that mean for their family who are not even aware that they've lost their parents, they've lost their spouse? What does that mean to the greater community if we are just taking pictures and sharing, or taking videos and just sharing? In as much as we are supposed to inform each other of what's happening, we need to take a step back and really consider the ramifications of the things that we're doing. So when I speak on privacy and data protection, I'm speaking beyond the technical aspects. I'm looking at the human element of it. Have we lost our humanity so much that we disregard the impact of our actions on the next person? There's another situation that happened in our community where someone had an affair, and someone took pictures of that couple that were in their adulterous relationship, and it was shared. Do you know that these people lost their livelihoods because of the manner in which that was shared? And I'm informed that one of the parties in that relationship actually ended up taking their own life because they could not handle everything that had happened as a result of the distribution of their private affairs. So, in as much as people might be doing things that are wrong, and we feel this sense of urgency to share that there has been wrongdoing, at the end of the day, we really have to consider the long-term effects of our actions. Yes, I, as an adult, might commit a crime and you catch it on camera and you distribute it, and then I take my life. What does it do to my child? What does it do to the people that relied on me as their source of income, as their parent, or anything else? So we really need to consider that while we have freedom of speech, freedom of expression, we have that freedom is not without consideration to the rights of others and how we are infringing on those rights. We really have to consider how that data that we are distributing, that we are storing on our devices, it might not be as big as what I've put it across. It might just be a simple thing where you are very careless with your phone, and people can get into your phone and access your messages, access your email. Sometimes you're carrying confidential company information, you're carrying trade secrets of an organization on your phone, and you're just leaving it lying around or just giving it to other people to access. You really have to be more deliberate about how you protect your own privacy, but also that of other people. And that is not just a moral duty, it is also a legal duty that we have to be very mindful of what we're doing with third party information as well as our own information. So as we carry on, we need to also understand that we have a lot of power that we hold in the palm of our hand. There's no greater library than the phone. than the internet.
Mm.
And just by holding your device, a person can know so much about your life. They can know about what you like and what you do not like, and they can actually destroy your livelihood, your reputation. So much can happen. So even for yourself, you really have to be very careful about how you handle your data, how you handle your own private information, your videos, your audios, your photographs, your emails, anything that is private to you. So these are some of the skills that we just start off teaching even the young people, and that we need the parents to also teach their children that we have so much power in our hands, and we need to be really considerate of what we're doing on our devices, as well as the impact, the greater impact that it has on the people that trust us with their information, as well as the information that we are able to access even without much effort. But it doesn't mean that because you got it so easily, you should also pass it on easily. You really have to consider why you're doing it, what benefit is going to come out of it, what harm can be caused from whatever action you're going to take, and then um, being very respectful also of other people's privacy and data.
Quite a sobering perspective there, and a big challenge, right? Because sharing information can actually lead to loss, like you've said, loss of lives, loss of livelihoods, and destruction of relationships, and so on. So people really need to be quite mindful. But I would also want us to touch on how you actually protect the data. How do you do it? Let's have some practical tips. How
Okay.
do you ensure that the data that you have is secure?
Well, you can start off by making sure that your device is always kept safe. Um, I used to think that was common sense, but it is actually important to be very deliberate about keeping your device safe, just in terms of where it is kept, where it is stored, making sure that also the information is kept safe and secure. So if you've got a device, it's very it's advised that you have a password for your device. Now there are different ways of securing your device. You can either have your thumbprint or your fingerprint, or you can have facial recognition, or you can have a password. So make sure that you have as much protection on that device. Take it like your car, for instance. You're not just going to park your car in the street without locking it. You're going to make sure that it is locked, it is parked in a safe spot. There's a lot of security inside as well as outside, and it's the same with your device. So you have strong passwords as well. Uh, I know for us, our generation, a lot of us complain about forgetting our passwords, but it's actually advised that you have different passwords for different platforms, because once you use the same password over and over again, you're making it very easy for people to hack into your into your private email or into your private uh, applications that you use. So be sure to have strong passwords. Change the password often. Do not share the password. This is very common with the young people. They like to share passwords with friends. I don't know why. I still don't understand why they do it, but it's very common. And I know also even as adults, sometimes we feel like, because I forget my password so much, let me share. But it's also a high risk thing to do. You should also be make sure that you delete things, declutter your phone. So if you've got a lot of apps that you no longer use, delete those apps, because you open it up yourself to third party access to your phone. Maybe some of those apps have asked if they can have permissions to your camera, to your contacts, and so on, and you provided that access at that particular point that you're using. But later on, you're no longer using that app. years later, but it's still accessing your information. So make sure that you clean your phone, delete any unnecessary clutter, whether it's the apps that you're using or it's photographs, it's images that you're doing. It also helps with the space that you have on your phone. Make sure that you also delete old emails. Um, have ways of storing your information that is clear but also very secure for you. Have an antivirus on your device and make sure that you're always updating your device so that it has the latest protections. And remember that when it comes to protection, it's not always 100% foolproof. No matter what you do, there's always some way that someone can access your information. The cyber criminals are always looking for new ways. So educate yourself also about the new things that are on the market. Sometimes the antivirus that you're using might not be as effective. So always find something else that can be helpful for you to secure your information. Look for other ways of securing your information always. And look at the reviews as well of any app before you download it. Be careful because some of the apps that we download, people have already kind of used them and found that they have these deficiencies. So be sure to watch what other people have said about any app that you want to use. Also look at that app, what the policy of regarding that app has to say. Sometimes you actually just click. Usually, I think people click on consenting to the terms and conditions without looking at the privacy policies, looking at what information that app is accessing, what information it's sharing, who it is sharing that information with. So make sure you are very deliberate in checking as well, even for updates. I remember WhatsApp, I think, recently shared that there were going to be changes in the way that, in its privacy policy. And again, a lot of people will just click yes, consent, but there's some things that an app would actually tell you to say, I am going to take information from you and I'm going to sell it to a third party, or I'm going to take your photos and I'm going to be sharing with third parties, and God knows what those third parties are going to do with the information. So you must always check those things for yourself. You really have to do the work on that one and keep doing that work every now and again. Go back and make sure that what I was told is still what is in force. Sometimes you get surprises on how your information is being used, how it is being stored, and who it is being shared with. And I think as citizens, not just digital citizens, but citizens of our communities, we also need to understand the privacy and data laws in our own countries, in our own regions. What does the law say about that? So that if there is a breach of your privacy, you know how to protect yourself, you know where to go to get assistance if you need to be protected. Um, so, yes, always be informed, be aware of what's going on with the apps that you're using. Keep your phone safe. Keep the information on your phone safe as much as you can, and ensure that you've got as much safeguard on your phone as possible.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Such valuable information. As we begin to close the conversation, let's look at other information that you would like to share regarding obviously being safe, responsible, and ethical and productive when it comes to digital media use. I know you've touched on quite a lot, but are there just like concluding remarks that you'd want to sort of bring to the fore?
I would say, as digital citizens, we do have a responsibility to each other. And in as much as these platforms allow us to say whatever we want, whenever we want, to whomever, we still have a moral and legal obligation towards each other to, have the digital etiquette, to be respectful, to be kind, um, and to be responsible digital citizens. And I would just encourage, if there are any people in places of authority who are going to listen to this, that you also have a responsibility as leaders to ensure that um, the people who are under your influence have digital media balance, that their well-being is taken into account. Now, because people are easily accessible, you find that the etiquette of knowing that a person needs to have their downtime, they need to rest, that has sort of been ignored along the way. Yet it is still very important, whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, or it's a work colleague, that common decency of being courteous enough to know that it was still very late to be calling or texting someone. It is also very important, and to understand that as individuals, we need to disconnect from our devices from time to time. It serves us very well to reconnect with other things, with other people. It helps us in terms of our productivity, of our mental health, our physical health as well, and also just our relationships, to always know that these tools are just tools and they are not supposed to take over our lives. I want to encourage us to continue using them in the best way possible. I know that there's just so much that we can benefit from these tools, and I would like to continue to encourage individuals, families, um, people who are working together to use them to the best of our ability, but without forgetting the impact that the devices can have on our holistic well being as communities as well as individuals. I would like to also implore, if there are any young people who are going to listen to this, for them to remember that they have a great responsibility to become responsible digital citizens who are going to be digital leaders, and that they have been privileged with this global audience, this global community, things that many people before them never had access to. And because of this privilege, they have to be very responsible in how they utilize it, how they communicate with other people, and how they share information. In a nutshell, this is the message that I would like to leave today.
Powerful, 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 powerful. Edith, it's been an absolute pleasure to have been in conversation with you, and I have learned a lot from you personally, and you've dropped a lot of nuggets, a lot of insights. And yeah, I would love to have more of you on this podcast, because this is a much needed conversation. Hey, we need to continuously be engaging in digital citizenship conversation, because this is the new world that people are living in. So I am just absolutely grateful that you took time off your busy schedule to come and share this valuable information with our audience here.
No, thank you so much for having me. I am so happy to have had the privilege to speak to your audience, and I hope that they're able to take away something from what we've discussed. I look forward to future conversations.
Thank you so much. And for now, it's ciao, ciao. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Bye.